You've heard stories about mental institutions, right? Patients, doctors, the whole deal. But what if this one's different? What if the lines between sanity and madness are way blurrier than you think? This story is about to take a dark turn. Stick around to find out just how twisted things can get. Alara couldn't recall whether the blood staining her hands was hers or someone else's. She examined her palms, noticing how the crimson liquid seeped into the creases of her skin. It was an excessive amount, dripping from her hands and splattering rhythmically on the floor below. A sudden thud caused her to look up, where she saw a man, her patient, banging his head against the wall. His hands trembled, and as he raised his head to fix his wild, crazed eyes on Alara, she noticed his bleeding nose. The pieces fell into place. Relief washed over her as she realized it wasn't her blood, but she couldn't remember how it had gotten there. Her patient, now mere feet away, stared at her with a manic intensity, the crimson streak from his nose adding to the eerie atmosphere. Alara recalled how he frequently forgot who and where he was. Each time he looked at her with that frenzied gaze, signaling his disorientation, she extended her hand, reassuring the schizophrenic man of her reality. Alara began cautiously. "Kale, you're all right. You're in the Detroit mental institution. I'm the doctor, remember?" He merely stared blankly at her, scanning the room as if seeing it for the first time. She was unsure about the specifics of Cale Miller's condition beyond the fact that it was exceptional, and she had fought for the opportunity to treat him. Despite working with mentally ill individuals, Alara found her job exhilarating. The ability to delve into patients' minds, analyze their behavior, and aid in their improvement was incredibly stimulating. While their conditions were undoubtedly challenging, the psychological aspect fascinated her. The concept of minds being simultaneously similar and strikingly different captivated her. How could beings sharing the same planet be so vastly different? It was a euphoric realization. He said, "I don't know you." Cale's raspy voice echoed through the brightly lit room, creating an eerie sense of his voice being inside her head. Alara said, "It's okay if you don't remember." She reassured him gently, maintaining eye contact. "As I said, I'm a doctor here. You're my patient, and I'm treating your schizophrenia." Cale shook his head violently, his anger seemingly mirrored by the ominous flickering of the fluorescent lights. He said, "You're not real." A shiver ran down Alara's spine. The distorted echo of his voice was unsettling. The spacious room amplified his raspy vocalizations, creating a haunting effect. Yet, after spending countless hours with such patients, Alara felt the walls closing in, as if their voices, nightmares, and darkness were consuming her. Despite the horrors, she remained dedicated to her profession, finding purpose and fulfillment in her role as a doctor. "I am real. I understand it's difficult to discern reality, but I assure you, Cale, what you're experiencing is genuine," she insisted. Cale repeated, "This isn't real. You're not real. I'm not real." Alara sighed in defeat. Dealing with patients who clung to delusions was frustrating, but her empathy for their condition remained. She yearned to understand his perspective, to glimpse the world through his troubled mind. Alara suggested, "Cale, why don't you rest?" Cale eyed the bed with distrust and said, "No, I don't want to." Alara offered an encouraging smile as she said, "Why not?" His gaze became vacant as his pupils dilated. He seemed to be staring at something beyond her. A chill ran down her spine, despite knowing it was a product of his delusion. He pointed behind her, his eyes filled with terror. His nails, caked with dirt and lined with dried blood, emphasized his distress. He suddenly spoke. "He won't let me." Alara's heart raced. The blurred lines between dreams and reality in her patience often made her question her own perception. She said, "Who won't?" A sinister smile crept across Cale's face, the blood smeared on his lip adding to the horrifying image. He spoke, "Turn around and see for yourself." His manic laughter echoed through the room. Alara said to him, "Cale, remember, he isn't real," she reminded him gently, but he lunged forward, his face inches from hers. Cale said, "He wants you to look at him." His breath, stale and fear-laden, washed over her face. Fear immobilized Alara as she anticipated his next move. She needed to summon security. "Look at him! Look at him, Alara! Look at him!" Cale's scream was a cacophony of terror and madness. She began to retreat slowly, her eyes fixed on him. She shouted, "Cale, look at me! He isn't real." His long, bony fingers clamped onto her shoulders, intensifying her fear. He shook her violently, and her teeth rattled. He said, "You know who isn't real? I'm not real." Alara broke free, her heart pounding in her chest. A mix of fear, desperation, and irrationality consumed her as she ran towards the door, banging on it relentlessly. She screamed, "Help! Help! We need sedatives for patient 13. Cale's footsteps thundered behind her. She screamed louder, her efforts to find her keys futile. His presence was overwhelming, his every breath and laugh fueling her terror. Cale's fingers brushed against her neck, his touch sending shivers down her spine. Her breathing grew labored as her heart raced. Alara warned him, "Don't touch me." His dirty fingernails dug into her neck, a chilling warning, just as the door swung open. Doctors rushed in, armed with syringes to sedate Cale. Relief washed over Alara, but it was short-lived as she realized they were restraining her. Alara told them fearfully, "No, no, my patient is behind me. He needs the sedative. Patient 13. Her voice was weak and trembling. She struggled against their grip, noticing the syringe aimed at her neck. Confusion clouded her mind as she realized it was labeled for patient 13, not her. The cold liquid entered her bloodstream, her body growing limp. Her vision blurred as she collapsed. The doctors murmured, their words barely audible. One of the doctors said, "Does she still think she's the doctor? How long will this delusion last?" The other one said, "It's getting creepy. We need to figure out how to treat her. Let's strap her to the bed." What if the lines between sanity and madness were completely reversed? In a shocking twist, we discover that Alara, the seemingly composed doctor, is actually the one trapped in the depths of her own mind. Cale, the terrifying patient, was merely a phantom of her imagination, a manifestation of her deepest fears and darkest secrets. As the sedative takes hold, we're left with a chilling question. Is there any hope for redemption? Or is Alara doomed to wander forever in the labyrinth of her own twisted reality? Did this mind-bending twist shock you as much as it shocked me? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you're into spine-tingling tales like this, hit that subscribe button for more twisted stories. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on my latest uploads. See you in the next one.